Should I keep this Tamagotchi idea in my final game? Well, why did you make it in the first place? I built my game piece by piece, taking part in Game Jam. This jam round, all developers had to recreate the Tamagotchi game, so I used my cats. But does this align with how I want my final game to be like? This is a common problem I have when fitting my game to a jam's theme. Of course you have this problem! What did you think was gonna happen? I'm making a game about fraction cats that turn from solid to liquid to gas, which players capture for energy. In this video, I will talk about how I made the Tamagotchi game, what I feel I won, and what I lost along this path. After a few days of researching, I decided on these things. First, the egg. I decided to use yarn as the vessel. For feeding, fish and cake is fine. A fish is like a medal, trying to fit around the theme of sewers, post-apocalyptic stuff, and cake, it will be filled of sludge, and that makes sense a bit later. For the buttons, I made them work both by pressing the keyboard and the mouse. I did this to allow players to play with both, but also follow the tactile buttons of the Tamagotchi. Finally, the exercise. This is a bit controversial. I used the fraction task. A book that opens and you have to decide if the fractions are the same or not. Here I hid equivalent fractions that would count as the same numerically. It was a bit cryptic and confused a lot of folks basically. Tamagotchis evolve as they grow older, so I played around with a few ideas. In the end, it's the idea of cats going from solid to liquid to gas. What an original idea! And this way, of course, it ties with my, whole theme of the cats, but at the same time, it caused this issue, because as it increases pressure, it goes from solid to liquid to gas, but then how do I go back to the extra evolutions that the game has? If at the breaking point you had enough happiness, your cat would evolve. If not, goes back to the sludge void. And the more you go up and down the pressure scale, the more pure, detailed your cat becomes. I know, this doesn't make much physics sense, but at least you clean up the pool with lava, right? I coded sickness to occur after lots of poo had filled up, and there is the medicine for the antidote in case the cat gets sick. To sleep, I simply press the ZZZ button where the creature is napping. I also want to say how cool it was that I managed to animate all these little things in the same file. I usually create different ones or work with a different animation, but now I constrain myself to do this at the same file, and it was really fun to see everything working out. I exported all the sprites and then made one file that would just cycle through. Now every time you did something wrong, the cat is angry. To show progress, I had in the menu screen a few shapes that would fill in as the players progressed more and more. And here's the good part. I made this animation a while ago and finally got to reuse it, bringing some world building in the game. The dude sitting on the creek, and then boom, the yarn egg just drops. Took me ages to animate this, so I was very, very happy to introduce it in the game. And that's it. So what is my issue? I feel this Tamagotchi thing doesn't really fit. The fraction stuff doesn't directly tie into the current mechanics or the narrative so far, with the book just being an idea that I quickly propped up to fit in my issue of having fraction stuff. However, I got to use some old animations and also add some sound. The idea of having more yarn involved I really like, so I will be using more of that. That's spoilers for the next video. In any way, I was lucky to make it to the finals of this game jam, so I get to make another video. Now back to my jar, herete!